All right, guys, welcome to Take Your Base. I'm your host, Flavo Rihanna, brought to you by Four Corner Sports. All right, guys, so good news and bad news for the New York Mets. I guess we'll start it off with the good news. Good news is the New York Mets officially have their GM. Yes, it is Billy Eppler. Billy Eppler, who came from the LA Angels of Anaheim. He was the GM for 5 years. I believe he wasn't the manager. I believe he wasn't the GM for the 2021 season. I think he got released after the 2020 season. Artie Moreno must have felt that he didn't have a good 5-year stretch. But you have to also to look at the whole thing entirely. Yes, the Angels aren't a very good franchise. All right, and Eppler is going from the Angels to the Mets, which the Mets haven't, lived up to expectations. But I kind of do like the hire. I gotta say, I do like the hire. I know everybody wanted David Stearns, but there was no way Milwaukee wanted to allow anything related with Steve Cohen, having one of their guys being taken by Steve Cohen. I believe Milwaukee owner, I don't know the guy's name, but I believe he ended up voting against Steve Cohen when it came down for approval of being allowed into ownership. So, what's it called? David Stearns is not going to be the GM. Although I did find out that Billy Eppler is best friends with David Stearns. So one thing to really look out for is the fact that David Stearns' contract does end with the Milwaukee Brewers at the ending of the 2022 season. I don't know if there's an exercise clause by any means, whether there's a team option or he has the option of going forward with that clause. I'm not sure about that, but what I do know is that Stearns' contract is over at the end of the 2022 season. Billy Eppler and David Stearns have a great relationship. They're best friends. And that's something to look forward to, that maybe, Steve Cohen can throw a large amount of money. He could throw more money than any other owner in baseball to convince David Stearns to come to the Mets in 2023. But for 2022, Billy Eppler is the GM. Guys, he was part of the Angels organization. He was the one that gave Mike Trout that huge contract. I believe it was like a 10-year contract worth like $400 million or something along that lines. I know it was like a $400 million contract. It may have been like 13, 14 years or something of that nature, but he gave that extension to Mike Trout. He's the one that had convinced Shohei Ohtani to come from Japan to the Angels. Trust me, guys, there was plenty of teams all over baseball that wanted Shohei Ohtani, and somehow Eppler was able to convince Shohei Ohtani. So you have that relationship over there, that he's able to pull people from the international pool and convince them to sign with them. Plus, remember, there is like a spending limit when it comes to international signings. So Billy, if he's gonna be like a whisperer for that, that'd be great. And look what Shohei Ohtani ended up doing. He ended up becoming AL MVP, and he has shown, that he's worth every single penny. All right. The guy knows how to. The guy, unfortunately, was in a bad organization where players, they go there for the money, but and it's because it's also LA as well too. But they go there for the money, and like the team doesn't pan out. Like I could name you a whole ton of players that went there for the money and it just never panned out. Josh Hamilton, C.J. Wilson, Justin Upton. Yes, that was one of his signings. It just didn't pan out that great. Anthony Rendon, who was another one of his signings, but I don't believe that was mainly a Billy Eppler decision. I believe that was an Artie Moreno decision. All right. So now, what is Billy Eppler's expectations as GM? Well, Steve Cohen had a press conference. He had said that it's whatever Sandy and Billy want, that he's going to try to maximize as much as possible to get these guys. If it means that he has to overpay for players, he's going to overpay for players. And I love to hear that from Steve Cohen. So Billy Eppler does have the green light. Plus, this guy has an exorbitant amount of money that he could play with. I mean, he has to go after. He has to go after, these big time free agents. I mean, yes, Jose Barrios is off the table because of the fact he ended up signing a 7-year contract extension with the Blue Jays, who that guy's a workhorse. That guy doesn't miss starts whatsoever. Unfortunately, we ended up one of the bad news that we had actually the bad news that we had was Noah Syndergaard. He left the Mets and he ended up leaving to actually the Angels. Yeah, he wants to go to the Angels on a 1 year, I believe it was like a $21 million contract. Remember, Mets ended up putting a qualifying offer for Noah Syndergaard, so the Mets will receive a second round draft pick. So that's good on that part. Am I upset about it? I was kind of a little bothered, and then I saw that Syndergaard left the Mets. But I understand. You know what? Maybe the Mets didn't want him. Mind you guys, he didn't pitch in 2020. He only pitched 2 innings in 2021. So there are a lot of concerns. There's a lot of question marks with his injury. And it's his pitching arm. So that's something that you need to worry about. And let the Angels have that problem. And worst case scenario, he doesn't like the Angels. He has a decent year, and the Mets feel like they can, go back and try to throw him in the bag, and because they see potential in him again. Then he comes back to the Mets. But I don't mind it. It's only a 1 year contract. I mean, let the Angels, deal with that dilemma, and let him, get whatever help that he can get under the Angels tutelage. But going back into the Billy Eppler story. So he's becoming the GM. Now the question is, who's going to be the manager that is going to be running the team? When Eppler was in charge of the Angels, he did hire Brad Ausmus, which is a name that I am not fairly caring for because of the fact that he's had historically bad years with the Tigers, with the Angels, and, well, more so with the Tigers than with the Angels. But he just isn't really that great of a manager. And another name that was in the mix was Buck Showalter. Now, Buck Showalter, he's had a track history where he can rebuild teams up and get them going. We saw him do it with the Orioles, which the Orioles were a very good team, if not a decently good team, in like the mid 2000s, early 2010s. We saw him do it with the Yankees, which that set up a huge dynasty. Yes, he got the boot, I believe it was 1995 or 96, and then Joe Torre ended up taking over, and then you ended up seeing the Yankees win 4 championships in 5 years. And we saw him do it in plenty of other stops, but guys, I think we also saw him do it in Tampa, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm mixing him up with Joe Madden, but I'm not entirely sure. But we saw him do it with the Orioles. We saw him do it with the Yankees. The guy is pretty good at what he does, but the only problem is that in this baseball analytical world, I don't know how that's gonna be very something in his favor. Will he go against the analytics? Will he follow what the analytics people say and actually listen to them? Who knows? But those are 2 people that are in mind. Eppler, I'm very excited to see what he's gonna end up doing with this team. Hopefully he can get us a Robbie Ray, maybe squeeze in a couple of trades to ensure our pitching staff. We lost Syndergaard. Definitely needs to re-sign Marcus Stroman. I think what Marcus Stroman hasn't been able to prove within the last 2 years that he's been pitching, 2021 and 2019. Remember, he ended up not wanting to play for 2020 because of COVID reasons. He's actually pitched pretty fairly well in Flushing. I like what I see with Stroman. He has the potential of being a solid number 2. Taijuan Walker showed a lot of good stuff earlier in last year. All right, so we have that. The only problem with Walker is that he ended up fatiguing out going into past the All-Star break, and he was running on E on that meter because he hasn't pitched. I believe what's it called, in 2020 he only pitched like 60 innings or something like that. So I want to see what Eppler is going to be able to do filling in those final 2 pitching slots. As for what's it called, the offense. The offense stuff does need to be looked at. Will the Mets go after Carlos Correa? They can put him at third. They can have Lindor hold down second. Will the Mets re-sign Javi Baez? Now, that's a question that I think we all want to see. Javi Baez was pretty explosive when he ended up getting traded to the Mets. Sure, it didn't result to us getting into the postseason, but he was pretty explosive. We saw that he has that winning charisma, he has that winning attitude, and he can definitely light up a clubhouse. Lindor had a very subpar year for the first half of the season, and then he was picking it up. And then we started to see like the real Francisco Lindor that we ended up seeing him do in Cleveland. We definitely do need an upgrade in third base. I don't think J.D. Davis is the answer. I don't think we can play Jeff McNeil at third base. I think he's more suited to be a left fielder. We're going to lose Michael Conforto. Michael Conforto did decline the qualifying offer. It looks like he wants $100 million contract. He's a Scott Boras client. Don't see the Mets offering Michael Conforto anywhere near that. Conforto had one good year when he was with the Mets, and he did have a good World Series back in 2015. But mind you guys, that was 6 years ago. So don't see the Mets, looking back from whatever happened 6 years ago and be like, oh, you're going to get a $100 million contract. I think he's out the door. So you got to worry about right field too. And the only thing that's pretty much held down is center field. So Billy Eppler definitely does have a lot of stuff at his disposal that he does need to fix. He needs to fix up left field. He needs to fix up right field. Nimmo is pretty much your center fielder. What's going to happen with Jeff McNeil? Are you going to make him a left fielder? Because he's definitely not going to be a third baseman. Or are you going to re-sign Javi Baez, have him at third base, have McNeil at second, and then Alonso at first? The catching situation, James McCann had a pretty bad year. He was nowhere near the James McCann that we ended up seeing with the White Sox. He returned back to James McCann from the Detroit Tiger days. So Eppler needs to fix up this lineup. He needs to bolster up that starting pitching. He needs to get more starting pitching, okay, because we can never have enough starting pitching. And he's got a lot of his plate. But do I have confidence in the guy? Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm going to see where this goes, and I'm going to root for the best, because I'm a Mets fan, and I want to see, Eppler, make the more logical choices, get key free agents, get your Robbie Rays, get your Carlos Correas if you can. The Mets have the richest owner in baseball, possibly in sports. They should be able to get a couple of these free agents, but one domino is in full effect. Next is the manager, and then after that, you can start playing into, free agents. But until then, guys, I am Flavo Oriana. Thank you for tuning in to Take Your Base, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, until then, peace, guys, and have a good one.